him here in the Southwest. He was well defeated here. Obasanjo.
All right. Apart from public criticism from helpless citizens, the Naira redesign crisis in Nigeria is also attracting foreign scrutiny. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has asked the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, to extend the deadline for phasing out old Naira notes. The IMF stated that the short time frame for the currency swap is causing hardship in the country. Meanwhile, in the face of mounting protests over the Naira crisis, commercial bank workers are threatening to shut down operations for fear of attacks.
Well, already in Ogun State, I don't know if in 24 hours they will open their branches, because there were two kinds of protests in Abeokuta yesterday, the state capital. So the banks have to, the committee of banks have to come up and shut down their premises because of the irate mob. You see, this morning I traveled within Lagos of 20 kilometers. Everywhere I pass through, come and see queue in front of banks, from Iju down to Maryland. And that's more than 20 kilometers. Everywhere, come and see queue as early as 7 o'clock in the morning. So I don't really know the kind of statistics or the kind of proposal that made the government want to implement this program at this particular point in time. It would have been reasonable if it had been done probably 2015, when the war against corruption was much, or probably maybe before 2019. But for a government, we have said this several times, it is unthinkable and you cannot rationalize it by any reasoning whatsoever. So for people, government to know that those people, yes, the president too did admit that the policy was meant against the rich who stored up money. But today, I'm telling you, those who are suffering are the downtrodden, not even the masses, the downtrodden, those people who cannot say, you can tell a man selling beans for 450 naira per dirika. You cannot give him, you cannot transfer money to him, or somebody selling pepper, or somebody selling onion, or even the transporters. 90% of transportation in Lagos and most metropolis in Nigeria is still done by public transportation. Are you going to transfer money when you give it to them? My son, last week in UI, the guy stopped using cash 2 weeks ago. He said, whenever he goes to it, he will go to the canteen, he will transfer. Then one day last week, he tried to transfer money after eating 3 times. The thing bounced back, and he had no cash. So the woman had to tell him that, well, don't worry, come back. You see, and you keep on sending money, and they cannot get it. So I don't know actually what informed this thing, but the best thing the president can do for Nigeria, because in 3 months' time, the president will leave office. And in 3 months' time, both him and the governor of Central Bank, they are going to be remembered for something. So they have to do something that is necessary to save the masses. This thing is not against the rich. In practical terms, it is against the downtrodden. It is not against the rich, because the rich, if you are a banker and your customer, your account officer, you call your account officer, I need 5 million naira, and you have 20 million in that account, you will not wait for 30 minutes. He will bring the money home for you, because no bank manager wants to lose any worthy client.
A big client.
Are you telling me the thing is for the rich? No, it is against the poor and the downtrodden. And the earlier, the better the government do something about it. So the IMF is justified. We don't even need the IMF to come and tell us that this policy cannot work, because it has never worked.
Okay, there seems to be a consensus in that line. But a lot of people are still saying that, look, we should allow the central bank to finish the final phase of this implementation. We should give them time, that they should not be bullied. They should be allowed to do their work. And we've been hearing opinions that, look, if at the end of the day that this thing will turn out as we all expect.
How will it turn out? People who just speak English just to mislead us. Sometimes I wonder whether those people actually think that they are accountable to God. How will this thing turn out? In 2016, India did the sort of thing that we did.
With the population.
There is a candidate who is using the example of India, that they change money. But he refused to tell the whole story. How India's poor suffered tremendously as a result of the exercise. What were they trying to do? They withdrew their two biggest denominations. The currency that they withdrew, the quantum of currency notes they withdrew amounted to $230 billion. And they gave 50 days. What they wanted was to deal with people with black money, who have so much money, who have stashed money in their homes and who are not paying taxes. Unfortunately for them, and of course, they also they were led to take that step because they heard that a lot of those notes had been counterfeited. But the truth is, at the end of the day, they found very little number of counterfeited notes. So the exercise, when you look at the exercise, the pain and all that, from the angle of counterfeiting, it was not worth it. Not many of those currencies, when they took them back to the bank, actually were counterfeited. Secondly, the Indians rich were really not stashing money. They had used their money to buy real estate. Some had converted their cash to gold. The ones who had money, and I'm sure that even here in Nigeria, our rich people will have done it. Yes. The one who had money
transferred it,
gave the money to intermediaries, poor people, because they knew that they would be under scrutiny. Yeah. They gave the cash to poor people who then took the money to the banks. They negotiated with them. Their cash, they gave out their cash at lower rate. It's like I had 10, let me say I had 10 million.
Okay.
So I will then say, okay, take this for 8 million. Go and keep for me. You have made 2 million of me. Yeah. But my own job is to help you lodge the money. So at the end of the day, the exercise was a waste. They didn't get the quantum of black money that they thought they were going to get, because these guys had quickly bought real estate, some converted their cash to gold. The bulk of the money was not counterfeit after all. So, whereas the poor people who were in the informal sector, who were into small-scale enterprises, some of them into agriculture, they lost money. Businesses collapsed. So people telling stories, trying to talk about India, oh, India did it. Between 2016 and 2018, Indian economy suffered as a result of this policy, because the poor, the vulnerable in our society, how many of them are doing digital payments? It's still cash that these people largely deal with. It's the same thing in India. They were the ones who suffered. It's the poor who suffered the most. The rich at the end of the day will find a way to get around these things, just the same way the Indians got around it. The rich are the same everywhere. Yes, but it is the poor. And you ask yourself, is this targeted at the poor? Those who came out with the idea and convinced the president, they weren't. They must have told him that, look, these rich people, we are going to deal with them. These politicians, we are going to stop them. There will be no vote buying. Nobody will be able to stop vote buying. God will spare our lives. We will see it. Because these guys, they found a way.
Let's just take this break.